Everybody gets old. Yes, even you're gonna get old. Are people gonna show up to your funeral? Are you even gonna have a funeral, a casket? Like, are you just gonna go out in flames? Some personalities might. Some personalities want to, by stereotype. Let's talk about it. What's my opinion of this? And again, this is my opinion, my experiences. I've been to a lot of funerals, and just like you, I mean, do you show up to every funeral you're invited to? How do you feel about that, right? So it's like based upon who that person was, not necessarily their stereotype or their personality, but it's like, you know, you have this feeling about that. So obviously there are people in your life that you're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to go. I'm going to go. Like there was just so much love in their life that you're definitely going to show up. And these are probably more on the FE user sides, right? They're the warm-hearted people who cared a lot about you. And obviously you want to have this, I want to give back and at least be there for their funeral. But who's going to show up at your funeral? How's it probably going to end? And your personality's been around for a long time, right? I mean, throughout recorded history, your personality has a history. Other people have had the same Enneagram and personality as you. Just remember, you're unique just like everybody else. So let's just take an emotional and offensive stab at who may or may not show up to your funeral, or if you're even gonna have one. Let's start off with one of the most prickly ones, ESTPs. If they didn't just, if there's even an open casket, okay, I don't want to sound offensive, but let's just make this a fun video, okay, guys? Don't be weird on me. Something crazy happened in the ESTP, you know, and if they didn't offend too many people in their life, then, you know, there might be people who show up just to see what crazy thing might happen. That's your ESTP. ESTPs lived life to the fullest and squeezed everything they could. So is it here or there, very spiky, up or down type of ending for an ESTP, I think. Yeah, okay, that's a good one. Moving on. And feel free to throw your comments in there too if you feel otherwise with any of these. This is just my opinion. ENTPs, probably the same kind of thing. Just absolute madness. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Wow. Of course, I'm going to go see what's going to go happen. They're more curious with the ETP types, I probably think. I'd be very fascinated to see what's going to happen there. Like I said earlier, the FE users, like everybody's going to just show up, right? There's so much love, so much freaking love. Don't get me emotional. I've been to a lot of funerals, and it's those who are like FE users that those funerals are, there's a lot. Gosh, it's very, very, very heartwarming. They were just loving people. ENFJs, like, they're gonna have stories told at their funeral like all day long, just because they know everybody and they did so much for everybody. ENFJs, ESFJs, probably a little less of that gooiness, but they're definitely still on the loving side. It's just that funeral is gonna be a little more organized. ENFJs, people are gonna show up out of nowhere for that ENFJ. ESFJs, a lot of people, but I think the biggest funerals are gonna be ENFJs. Next on that list is obviously the ISFJ. It's probably gonna be a lot of respect at the ISFJ funerals. I have personally, ISFJs are adored and revered for, like, they go down as legends. So ISFJs become this sage-like essence in family dynamics. Like ISFJs are like, they hold people and families together, man. And again, I'm gonna go back to the ESFJs. There are certain ESFJs that just hold families together, and they do so much. So I take back what I said about the ESFJ not having again, it's probably in that order though, ENFJs being the top of that. And of course, the other FE user out of that quadrant is the INFJ. Usually I hold INFJ for like the last, but seriously, they're again, a lot of people are going to show up to an INFJ funeral. Don't want to go there. You know what I'm saying. I just hope that people remember, like, as much as they remember the bad, being SI demon, I hope people remember all the good that the INFJ did and experienced and shared with them. And they make efforts for people, man. INFJs. All the FE users make a ton of efforts for you. So go to their funeral. Okay. Jeez. Those are FE users. And then we talked about the TI users. And that would also be INTP and ISTP. INTP, a lot of people would show up. INTPs have this really well-rounded way of life. Like, they're so almost hard to type at first because they're just so well-rounded with everything. And because of that, they have, even though they're introverts, the INTPs have a good, healthy circle. They care so deeply. Like, it's going to be a good-sized crowd. ISTP, if they use their skills to help others, they deep down do want to do that. That's a black and white one. Either they'll have a good turnout or, you know, they'll just kind of like fade away. So that's a whole different thing. I'm nobody to poke. I'm being all serious. I want to show up to the ISTP funeral. I'd feel bad if I didn't, but at the same time, they probably wouldn't care. So that's my thought, my personal thought. ENTJs. We mentioned all the TI users, like in the top 4, right? ENTJs are going to have like the fanciest, biggest freaking, they're going to have their funeral's in a palace. Like It's painted gold, and it's an emperor's funeral. Like, we're talking Viking funeral, ENTJs. Yeah, they're going down in flames, but like organized, like big picture flames that somebody else organized years before it happened, and they made sure it went out with a bang. That's ENTJ. Pretty good, pretty cool. Epic. Feel bad about some of these. I'm really sorry, guys. I don't mean to be, it's 2 in the morning, 2:46 in the morning. I probably mumbled so much. Yeah, I'm probably sure I said something, especially with the ISTJ. They don't care. Okay, moving on. Other TE users. Oh, ESTJ. Yeah, they kind of lived life like pump and dump stock. Like they squeezed everything they could early on in life. And if they did so healthfully and they kept good barriers and to barricade all of their, ESTJ-ness throughout their life with good people around them, then they lived a very powerful and lucrative life in which it was just great all the way through, and it was good and solid all the way through. ESTJ. So you might have a great turnout. That's a questionable one. Made a video on ESTJs doing some crazy like turnaround halfway through their life recently. Highly offensive, but good responses on that. So if an ESTJ is unhealthy, they will somehow screw the people closest to them halfway through their life, and then they'll spend the rest of their life trying to get it back. That's what I mean by the whole pump and dump ESTJ. If that did not happen and it went straight up, then, okay, moving on. The next TE user is the INTJ. Yes, they'll have a good turnout. Probably like the INTP. Like, there's just this warm, like, respect for the INTJ. As long as the INTJ, made the efforts to, connect, then why wouldn't they have a good turnout to their funeral? Like, absolutely, I would show up. Being the subconscious for the INTJ, I have a lot of respect for INTJs naturally, and vice versa. A good, healthy distance and closeness there. So, okay, the last TE user is 2:40 something in the morning. ISTJ. They probably sent out the invitations long before they even passed. Like, they planned that thing. And if you don't show up, they'll probably find you. So, I would go to an ISTJ's funeral, because they'll still guilt me after they moved on. There's that looming guilt feeling. Still having good control even after they've moved on. It's a crazy, weird way of still being an ISTJ. A controlling form of love. Yeah, I'd say respect. It's a respect thing. Otherwise, I don't think that there'll be a big party. Unless they tolerated a lot of fun people around them and they were that core ISTJ, then a crap load of people would show up to that ISTJ's funeral. So what am I saying? It really just depends on how you ISTJ, work it and bring in your circle. Okay, we're talking about FE users, TI users, TE users, the FI users, oh boy. ISFPs, ESFPs, ENFPs, and INFPs. What a thought to think that everybody's just gonna one day, wow. Good thing new AIs come out all the time, and they're gonna figure this thing out, okay? We'll never have to deal with this crap. I would say the NFP types are probably just pretty much okay with it, There's a lot of depth, obviously, with the NFP types, so there's probably a lot of emotion. So there's a lot of they had a lot of deep connections with people in life, so a lot of stories will be told. Yeah, but not in the same way that like an FE user would have, but more like they did this kind of thing with their life and their time, versus an FE user is more like they did this for me, right? Because they're FE versus FI. ESFPs and ISFPs, like, it's going to be more about what they showed, what they did. Can't believe like wow, it's impressive, but there's a burnout that kind of happens with the SFP types. I think, being an SFP type myself, so we got to keep things sparky all the way throughout our life. And as an old man, I'm going to do as many crazy things as I can, to be remembered, hopefully. But honestly, I would love it if there's a great turnout at my funeral. Yeah, definitely go. Definitely go. To everyone's funerals. I want to say send me your invitation, but that's a horrible thing to say, because I want to support everybody. This is probably my most awkward video. Makes you think and feel, doesn't it? Savor every moment with every type. Come here, give me a hug.